We are live on YouTube. And live on Facebook. What a special day this is. How are you, Moshe?
Amazing.
Moshe's back! I told you we'd have a surprise guest. God willing. Didn't want to make assumptions, but thank God he's here. We're so happy. This is really special. I mean, we've got Shabbos coming in tonight. And here around the middle of the day, we're making a Siyum, our first Siyum of AT Daily. We're going to finish Berachos today, the first tractate of the Talmud. And then we're going to move right into Shabbos, the second tractate. As Shabbos is coming in tonight, I mean, it's just miracles upon miracles. Purim is coming Monday night. So holy.
It's amazing.
So holy. Should we make our l'chaim now? No, I think we should make the l'chaim.
But really, they're starting Shabbos. They're starting Shabbos on Shabbos. But you're starting it early.
Right, we're a day ahead. So exactly, the rest of the world will be starting Shabbos on Shabbos. Should we have our l'chaim now, or actually after we finish Berachos and before we move into Shabbos? Right?
Why don't we have one now and then one later as well?
Just to make sure. It's always a good idea to have a l'chaim. If we make a l'chaim, we can make a bracha. We've been studying brachas this whole time. Now we know how important and special it is to make a bracha.
And if we're still in the same place now as we will be then it's the same bracha for both l'chaims.
Oh, so we have in mind that this bracha is going to cover that one exactly.
Yes.
That's for you, Moshe.
Oh, thank you.
My dear friends, we are dedicating this l'chaim to Torah learning around the world. And if you've learned something good, share something good. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, by whose word everything comes into being. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol nehi b'divaro.
Amen.
My l'chaim.
Ooh. Ooh, that taste. Taste of the whiskey.
My friends, where are we? What are we doing? We are completing the first tractate of the Talmud, Berachos. 9 chapters long. We're finishing both chapter 9 and the tractate today. Chapter 9 has been all about blessings themselves for particular situations, when we say them, how we say them, when we don't say them, with the underlying idea that any time, anything unusual that we notice, or as we learned yesterday from the Mishnah, just wrapping into our day by wishing people a greeting and employing God's name. At any time in the day, we want to be mindful that we live in God's world, that we're sustained by God, that we were given a mission. Our soul was given a mission. That's why we're here. And we've been given the tools to accomplish that mission. And every time we check in with the source of blessing, that is a blessing for us. So, let's jump into it. Page 64. DAF Nun Samech Daled, right?
60 is Samach. DAF Samach. Yeah.
DAF Samech Daled. 64. All right, my friends. We start actually with a teaching from yesterday that I didn't mention in yesterday's class. That's going to come into play today. So right near the end of the tractate, but on 63, Rabbi Tanchum, the son of Rabbi Chia of the village of Akko, said, if one missed saying the Shema, so there is no compensation for that. You can't make up a missed Shema. We learned earlier in our journey through Berachos that if you miss praying, if you miss the prayer, meaning the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei, there is a compensation. What's the word? Tashlumin?
Yeah.
That's Tashlumin. So Tashlumin means if you didn't say the morning Amidah, so then in the afternoon you make your afternoon Amidah, you take a little break, like you say another prayer like Ashrei, and then you can make up you say another afternoon Amidah to make up for the missed one in the morning. And likewise, if you miss in the afternoon, you can make it up in the evening. And if you miss the evening Amidah, you can make it up the next morning. But if you miss a morning Shema or an evening Shema, there's no making up for it. That opportunity was missed. Why? What is the difference between the Shema and the Amidah? That the Amidah can be made up, but the Shema cannot. We're going to come back to that question. Here on our page, in our DAF 64, it's a short DAF because we're finishing up the tractate. We have a wonderful little story. It happened that Rav Yehuda, who was the head of the academy, the head of the yeshiva in Pumbedisa, died. And they needed to replace him. Who would be the new Rosh Yeshiva? Who would be the new head of the yeshiva? There were two obvious candidates. It would either be Rabba or Rav Yosef. Now, Rabba had a huge seichel, a huge mind, a sharp mind, an incisive mind, and he was known as an uprooter of mountains. Rav Yosef also had a huge mind, but the nature of his brilliance was that he could retain everything he had ever learned. And so his knowledge was encyclopedic. If you wanted to know what did so-and-so say on such and such a subject, Rav Yosef had it, right? In the days when you couldn't Google a question, you could Rav Yosef the question, right? You could ask Rav Yosef, who said what about what is the law? So he was known as Sinai. Rav Yosef was Sinai, the mountain, holding everything that had come before, and Rabba was the uprooter of mountains, the one whose incisive intellect could discover a new path of logic, a new explanation. He could come up with new teachings based on old understandings. Now, which of these qualities was more important for the Rosh Yeshiva to have? They put the question to the sages, who should head the yeshiva, Sinai or the uprooter of mountains? The sages said Sinai. Sinai takes precedence over the uprooter of mountains. Why? Why? Because before we can have incisive knowledge and understanding and develop new understandings of the law, we need to know what the law is, right? And particularly back then, when every generation was relying on what they received from the previous generation and memorizing it. So much of that knowledge was memorized and passed on because, of course, this was an oral tradition. So the sages said, give precedence to Sinai. But Rav Yosef himself said, no, I may be Sinai, but Rabba needs to be the Rosh Yeshiva. Rabba needs to take over the academy. He was incredibly humble. And he stepped aside and let Rabba become the head of the academy, where he served as the leader for 22 years. And when Rabba finally died, only then did Rav Yosef become the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the academy, and he served for 2.5 years in that position. And during the 22 years that he stepped aside to let another man be the leader, he was so humble, he never complained, he never took on airs of authority, he never resented the leadership of his partner, of his colleague. And we learn from that. What do we learn from that? What do we learn from that, Moshe? What do you think we learn from that?
You never know, you never know. Keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind.
Respect.
Respect for sure, right? Yesterday we learned that Bar Kapara said, and we learned it in Avos as well, where there is no man, be the man, right? Where there is no mensch, be the mensch. And Abaye added to that, and where there is a mensch, there do not be the mensch, right? When somebody is a leader, is capable, is somebody who, can do the job, and you could do the job just as well as you, so let somebody else do the job. Don't be competing just so that you will have the honor and the authority when the things are handled. Because in fact, if things are handled here, maybe you're needed elsewhere. And I think perhaps Rav Yosef saw that he could be Sinai for everyone in the academy. But for an actual leader who would take that academy forward and do what needed to be done for the academy, Rabba was the man.
Rav Yosef saw that Rabba was there, and that man, he just had it so clear. Rav Yosef said to Rabba, let it be. Well, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Rav Yosef said, Rabba, let it be.
And now, as we're coming to the very end, we started yesterday. It's sort of like the sages, who are putting together Berachos are saying, the gates are closing. We're coming to the end of the tractate. The gates are closing. We're just trying to send in these last pearls of wisdom and get them through the door and into the tractate for all time. And we continue that today. Just a few more teachings we're squeezing in before the Masechet, the tractate ends. Rabbi Avin Halevi, a Levi like me, said that if you partake of a meal in the presence of a Torah scholar, it is as if you enjoyed the radiance of the divine presence. We learn that out from Exodus 18:12, that Aaron and the elders of Israel ate bread with the father-in-law of Moses before God. Before God? Did they have a meal before God? Was this one of those incredibly special meals? No, God is everywhere. But who they ate before was Moses, right? And Moses is the one who was teaching them Torah. So when you are privileged to have a Torah scholar who shares Torah at your meal, it's as if you've enjoyed the radiance of the divine presence of the Lord. And Rabbi Avin Halevi also said, when you take leave of a person, right? Moshe and I are together now. When this session ends, he'll go one way, I'll go the other, and we'll say goodbye to each other, right? And as we learn in English, goodbye is God be with you, right? So we bring in God's name. That's something our sages taught us. Bring in God's name into greetings, right? And we said that shalom, peace, is one of the names of God. And that's why we always invoke God's name in our greetings when we say hello and goodbye. But when we get more specific, when we leave a person, we don't say to them, go in peace. That's kind of a familiar phrase. People are used to saying it. We've heard it in the culture. And it is incorrect. According to Rabbi Avin Halevi, what we should say to a person when we leave them, especially a friend, go to peace. Go to peace. And we learn that out from the difference between what King David said to his son Absalom and what Moses' father-in-law, Yisro, or Jethro in English, said to Moses. Because Yisro said to Moses, to Moshe, go to peace when he left him. And the next thing that Moses did is he ascended Mount Sinai and received the Torah and the Ten Commandments. Right? King David said to his son Absalom, go in peace, and Absalom ended up dead. He went to battle, his hair got hung up in a tree, and the enemy was able to pierce him with spears. Why? Why is the difference? Right? When you say to somebody, go to peace, you're saying, well, you're growing today, you're growing tomorrow, but may your footsteps always direct you in growth toward that final peace that awaits you, and you'll never stop growing until then. When you say go in peace, or go with peace, which is the same in Hebrew, then you're saying you've already achieved your final peace. You're like a walking dead man, right? And so when we say goodbye to a dead person, and there we see in the culture that saying rest in peace, and that's accurate. When you say goodbye to a dead person, at a funeral, for example, and they're on their way to being buried, then you say go in peace. And you would not say go to peace because you're implying that they have not achieved their final peace even though their body lies before you.
You know the famous song that Jews sing at funerals, right?
The famous song that Jews sing at funerals?
Why did he die? 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 Why did he die? 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 Why did he die?
I never heard that before. All right, we're almost at the end. Rabbi Chia Bar Ashi said that Rav said. Now, this is such a famous Talmudic teaching. And we'll actually find it at the very end of the entire Talmud when we read Amidah in 7 years. And we'll find it in a few other places as well as the finish of a tractate of the Talmud. Rabbi Chia Bar Ashi said, in the name of Rav, Torah scholars, this is the one that leads up to it. Rabbi Chia Bar Ashi said in the name of Rav, Torah scholars have rest neither in this world nor in the world to come. But they go from strength to strength, always progressing. Now, this is very beautiful. If you're a learner, if you're somebody who seeks wisdom, wants to grow in wisdom, in Torah wisdom, so then you're never done, you never rest, you're always growing, you're never going to be retired. And even when you leave this world, your soul will have the ability to keep growing and going higher and higher, higher and higher.
Higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. Oh Lord, get me high, get me high, get me high. Lord, get me high, get me higher. Lord, get me high, get me high, get me high. Oh Lord, get me high, get me higher, higher, oh, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. You said you were going to give me cues, but you didn't realize how clear they'd be. Higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher.
And now we come to the teaching that I mentioned. Ends tractate Berachos, ends the entire Talmud, ends several tractates along the way. And we find often in our prayer book, it's such a universal and important teaching. It's like the underlying philosophy of the Jews. Rabbi Elazar said, in the name of Rabbi Hanina, Torah scholars increase peace in the world. He learns it out from Isaiah 54:13. All your children shall be students of Hashem, and great shall be the peace of your children. Children is banayich. Your children, banayich. Don't read banayich, children, but bonayich, builders. Right? So all your children shall be students of Hashem. Great shall be the peace of your builders. Right? Torah scholars. They're not just, getting involved in their books and doing their things so that they know a lot. When we study Torah, and even more when we disseminate Torah, we increase the peace of the world. This work, my friends, that we are doing here together today, now, in this forum, lighting up the darkness of social media, which we all know is filled with trolling and garbage and nonsense and filth. And we set all that darkness aside. We explode that darkness with light. This light goes out from Zion, from Yerushalayim, from the heart of every Jew to the entire world and increases the peace of the world.
Let there be peace, let there be peace, let there be peace in the world. We are increasing peace as builders of peace, as builders in the world.
Now, as we say that we are increasing the peace of the world, we finish Tractate Berachos with 4 verses of peace. I'll just read them out for you. The sages interpreted this verse homiletically, that we increase the peace, by saying, those who love your Torah have great peace. There is no stumbling block for them. These 4 verses are from Psalms. May there be peace within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brothers and friends, I shall say, peace be within you. For the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good. And the final line of Tractate Berachos, may the Lord give strength to his people. May the Lord give strength to his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. And it is a tradition of a Siyum to tie the final words of the tractate to the opening words of the tractate. Right? So we finish, the Lord will bless his people with peace. We opened with, from what time in the evening may we say the Shema? What is the connection between the Shema we say in the evening and the peace that is a blessing to all of us? Recall what we said at the beginning of today's class, that unlike the Amidah, if we miss a Shema, we can't make it up. The difference between Shema and Amidah, our sages say the Amidah, you could actually say it all day long because you're supplicating. And it was the sages who instituted the morning and the afternoon and evening prayer as an obligation. The people were already doing it, imitating Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But it's the sages who obligated us to pray morning and afternoon and evening, modeled after the sacrifices brought in the morning, afternoon, and evening in the Holy Temple. But the Torah commands us to say the Shema morning and evening. So we have an opportunity to fulfill our obligation in the morning and the evening when we recite the Shema. And one who fulfills his obligations to the divine will have peace. When you go to bed knowing you fulfilled your obligations, you will have peace.
Does that call for a mazel tov?
A mazel tov!
It's a mazel tov.
That is the end, my friends, of Berachos.
Hadran Allah.
I'll make the Hadran first, and then the mazel tov.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm switching to the art scroll. I've been mostly learning out from the Koran. For the language of the Hadran, I like a little better the art scroll. We shall return to you, Tractate Berachos, and you shall return to us. Our thoughts are on you, Tractate Berachos, and your thoughts are on us. We will not forget you, Tractate Berachos, and you will not forget us, neither in this world nor in the world to come. We'll repeat that paragraph 3 times. And then we say a little bit more, and this is how we finish every tractate. Every time we finish a tractate, we do this. We shall return to you, Tractate Berachos, and you shall return to us. Our thoughts are on you, Tractate Berachos, and your thoughts are on us. We will not forget you, Tractate Berachos, and you will not forget us, neither in this world nor in the world to come. We shall return to you, Tractate Berachos, and you shall return to us. Our thoughts are on you, Tractate Berachos, and your thoughts are on us. We will not forget you, Tractate Berachos, and you will not forget us, neither in this world nor in the world to come. May it be your will, Hashem, our God, and the God of our forefathers, that your Torah be our preoccupation in this world, and may it remain with us in the world to come. And then we cite the sons of Bar Papa, because he was such a holy man that he not only lived in holiness, but was able to transmit that love of Torah to all his 10 children. Chanina Bar Papa, Rami Bar Papa, Nachman Bar Papa, Chai Bar Papa, Abamari Bar Papa, Rafram Bar Papa, Rachish Bar Papa, Surah Bar Papa, Ada Bar Papa, Daru Bar Papa. Please, Hashem, our God, sweeten the words of your Torah in our mouth, and in the mouths of your people, the house of Israel. And may we, our offspring, the offspring of our offspring, the offspring of your people, the house of Israel, all of us, know your name and study your Torah. Your commandment makes me wiser than my enemies, for it is forever with me. May my heart be perfect in your statutes, so that I not be shamed. I will never forget your precepts, for through them you have preserved me. Blessed are you, Hashem. Teach me your statutes. Amen, amen, amen. Selah forever.
Amen.
We express gratitude before you, Hashem, our God, and the God of our forefathers, that you have established our portion with those who dwell in the study hall, and have not established our portion with idlers. For we arise early and they arise early. We arise early for the words of Torah, while they arise early for idle words. We toil and they toil. We toil and receive reward, while they toil and do not receive reward. We run and they run. We run to the life of the world to come, while they run to the well of destruction, as it is said. But you, O God, you will lower them into the well of destruction. Men of bloodshed and deceit shall not live out half their days, and I will trust in you. This is the final paragraph of the Hadran that we say at the end of every Masechet, every tractate. May it be your will, Hashem, my God, that just as you have helped me complete tractate Berachos, so may you help me to begin other tractates and books, to complete them, to learn and to teach, to safeguard and to perform, and to fulfill all the words of your Torah's teachings with love. May the merit of all the Tanaim, Amoraim, and Torah scholars stand by me and my children, that the Torah shall not depart from my mouth and from the mouth of my children and my children's children forever. May there be fulfilled for me the verse, when you walk, it, the Torah, will guide you. When you lie down, it will watch over you. And when you wake up, it will converse with you. For because of me, meaning the Torah, your days will increase and years of life will be added to you. Long days are in its right hand, and in its left hand are wealth and honor. Hashem will give might to his people. Hashem will bless his people with peace.
1, 2, 3, go! Simcha, simcha tov. Oh, mazal, mazal tov. Oh, yeah, lanu, L'Shmo Yisrael. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, simcha, 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 simcha tov, tov, tov. Oh, mazal, 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 mazal. Oh, yeah, lanu, L'Shmo Yisrael. Shalom, many more mesechtot, all the way to the end.
And now, because we just finished, we immediately have to learn a little bit of tomorrow's DAF from Shabbos. Shabbos. We're starting Shabbos on Shabbos. Woo! It's fantastic. When we begin in Masechet Shabbos, Tractate Shabbos, on DAF base, because we always start on page 2. There is no page 1 of any tractate in the Talmud.
Why not?
I heard a teaching about that, but I don't know it. Do you know it?
I'm not sure, but I think there's one lesson from it. I think Shlomo Kabbal said it. Is because it never works on the first try. Don't expect it on the first try.
And the Torah begins with base.
It begins with base, the Talmud.
And the Torah.
What do you mean?
Berachos.
Oh.
The Torah could have began with the letter Aleph, which is also the number 1, but it begins with the letter base, which is the number 2. Right. And every tractate of the Talmud begins on page 2. And Shabbos begins. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to tell you, when we start our study of Shabbos, the Mishnah will explain that there is a forbidden labor of Shabbos. We are not allowed to transfer an object from a private domain to a public domain. And in understanding what it means to transfer an object from a private domain to a public domain, we're immediately going to get very nitty-gritty, right? And our sages will teach in this opening Mishnah that there are two cases, which are actually four, to understand of what that transfer is. Because if a poor man is standing in the doorway of a rich man, the householder, and the poor man sticks his hand inside the doorway and takes a coin takes an object from the rich man's hand and pulls it outside into the public domain outside the door, he violated Shabbos. Likewise, if he reaches inside and takes an object from the outside and deposits it into the hand of the householder, he has violated Shabbos. But if his hand reaches inside the doorway and the householder takes an object and places it in the poor man's hand, and then the poor man takes his hand out of the house, he has violated Shabbos according to the rabbis, but not according to the Torah. Why? Because he did not pick up a thing and take it outside. Somebody else did the picking up, and he just did the removal, and so it was not a complete action. In order to understand how that works, tune in tomorrow night after Shabbos ends, and we open our study of Shabbos.
Simon tov u'mazal tov, Simon tov u'mazal tov, Simon tov u'mazal tov, yevelanu. Simon tov u'mazal tov, Simon tov u'mazal tov, Simon tov u'mazal tov, yevelanu. Yevelabanu u'lecha Yisrael.
Maybe a last song we have to request from you before we leave to go to Shabbos is a little good Shabbos. A little good Shabbos, Karl Bach style.
The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And we're also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And we're also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The most beautiful part about this Shabbos is that we know that all Shabbases, they bring down all the influence for the entire week that's coming on that day. So this Shabbos is bringing in Purim to us today. And on Purim we say that the Jews had light and happiness and joy. Oh, it was so much happiness and joy. And it was so precious, and that's how it will be. That's how it will be for us. So we sing a Purim song. La Yudim, La Yudim, Ha'isa'era, B'simcha, B'sasamika. La Yudim, La Yudim, Ha'isa'era, B'simcha, B'sasamika. Oh, La Yudim, La Yudim, Ha'isa'era, B'simcha, B'sasamika. La Yudim, La Yudim, Ha'isa'era, B'simcha, B'sasamika. La Yudim, La Yudim, Ha'isa'era, B'simcha, B'sasamika. La Yudim, La Yudim, Ha'isa'era, B'simcha, B'sasamika.
My holy brothers and sisters, thank you for tuning in with us today on our first Siyum at AT Daily. Thank you, Moshe Storch of Moshe Storch Music.
Hi.
If you want to learn more about Moshe's music, go to
MosheStorch.com.
MosheStorch.com. We hope to see you tomorrow night after Shabbos. We have the Saturday night show, and we'll open, with God's help, page 2 of Masechet Shabbos. It's been great to share this with you, my holy brothers and sisters. Sending you big love from the West Coast.
Let it be like Rav Yosef, let it